calling for your rights. It's election sin. What's up, CNN? Yeah, we're back again. We're gonna solve the mystery of who is gonna win. Let us now begin. It's election Sam!
Hello, Harrisites! Welcome back to TNN. With Election Day less than a week away, this week is going to be filled with interviews, fun challenges, and much more.
Yeah, we also have many interesting topics to cover this final week, including gun policy, Supreme Court appointments, education, and election integrity.
Today is the last day to register to vote. Make sure to get that form in to ensure that your voice is heard. Otherwise, your vote cannot be counted.
Now with that, let's jump into the interviews.
Alright, I'm Justin and I'm here with
Kamala Harris.
Alright, Kamala, what are your policies on guns and what are your thoughts on it?
I personally do own my own gun. However, I believe that we need to reform gun policies and laws because there has been an epidemic of school shootings and mass shootings, which is despicable. We should definitely reform our gun policies to ensure that people who may have a series of mental illnesses or a serious offense cannot put their hands on a weapon. This also means that we need to invest in universal background checks to ensure that only the right people who are qualified to own a gun will be able to.
Alright, and what are your thoughts on education in our country and how will you reform our education?
That's a great question, especially because in our education system, there's actually been a slide on how the students are performing, and I feel like we should definitely look into our departments of education. This means that we need to stray away from standardized testing because it just adds unnecessary pressure on these schools to even inflate grades or push students to the next grade even though they're not ready, all because they're scared of losing funding and need an increase in funding. I believe that we should definitely look into an individualized education system to ensure that each student is getting the help and support they need, and by allocating aid and resources to teachers to support each of these students.
Well, will that even matter considering a lot of students are skipping classes?
I feel like that also goes into how there's like social issues. Many of the students don't feel welcomed in these classrooms, and many of these students don't feel like there's a purpose in going to school. And we need to ensure that when we are reforming our education system, we're also making sure that the schools are becoming a place that students want to attend.
Can you give me a specific example on how you're going to do that?
Like I previously stated, we're going to move away from standardized testing because a lot of the time students are dreading going to class and they're being tested on things that they don't feel comfortable with. So when we are giving more funding and resources to these teachers, that means they're going to change their curriculums to aid the students more, which is going to encourage more students to be welcomed in the classrooms. Because I'm sure everyone has a test that they felt like they wanted to skip class for. However, we want to make sure that you feel prepared for this assessment instead of feeling like you have to resort to skipping class.
Alright, thank you so much. Do you have any closing remarks?
I believe that this election is extremely important to preserve our democracy. If you truly want to make sure that Trump is not going to be in office and ruin our democracy once more and make it more like a dictatorship, you should definitely use your vote and be educated and vote Harris for Harrisites on election day. Thank you.
Alright, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and who am I here with?
NARAL.
And can you tell me more about yourself?
So NARAL stands for the National Abortion Reproductive Action League, and we stand for access to abortion, IVF and fertility treatments, reproductive rights, and emergency health care, so instances like rape or incest. Yeah.
And what political groups do you support and why?
So we support the Democratic political groups, specifically Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, because they support our policies and are supporting us too.
And what are your thoughts on the ongoing election right now?
We think it's going really well. We're really grateful to everyone who's been supporting our group, and we're really excited to see how it goes.
And do you have anything else to say to your audience?
Remember to vote blue and reproductive rights for all. Your choice, your call.
Hi, we're live at the 2024 Special Interest Rally. Can you please share some thoughts about the event?
I feel like this event is really fun, and it makes a lot of people want to vote even more. And it's an easy way to get more Simbucks and food.
What about you?
I think this event's really thoughtful for everyone and get everyone to be more known about politics.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hello, Harrisites. Welcome to our interview. Today, I'm here with Republican candidate Bernie Moreno, who is running for Ohio Senate. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing good. This week's topics are gun control, education, infrastructure, and election integrity. Are you ready to get started?
Yes.
Our first topic will be about gun control. How do you propose to address illegal gun trafficking, and what actions would you take to reduce the flow of guns into the black market?
Many illegal immigrants are coming into this country and bringing in illegal drugs and illegal guns. I plan to stop illegal immigrants, specifically those who have been affluent with their crimes, to keep them from spreading guns and other dangerous substances into our markets, especially the black market.
Thank you. Do you believe that standardized testing is an effective way to measure student achievement? If not, what alternative methods would you propose to assess student progress?
No, it is not. The liberals have been pushing that agenda for decades and have been hurting valuable students. These standardized tests are clearly a way that the liberals have been pushing their agenda. I'd like to propose a better test rather than it being solely based on these liberal ideas. Let's do it based on the traditionals.
Thank you. Now into infrastructure. What is your plan for upgrading aging infrastructure in your community?
All of our elderly citizens, especially those that cannot afford retirement homes, like our homeless veterans, they deserve retirement. I plan to redirect government funding that has been spent on frivolous things like Inflation Reduction Acts that clearly don't work towards helping the elderly retire properly, a right that they should reserve but haven't been able to.
Thank you. Finally, how do you propose to address allegations of fraud in elections?
I'd like to make a tighter system. In 2020, the election was stolen from Donald Trump due to this election fraud. And after all the chaos that has happened in the last 4 years of Joe Biden's presidency, I want stronger legislation that will stop the illegal immigrants from voting in these elections and swaying the vote in favor of those sleepy liberals.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. Do you have any last words for the voters?
Remember, folks, don't vote for someone who can't even do a civics test about his country. Join the journey. Vote for Bernie.
Bye.
Game start.
President Business stole the Kraggle, the most powerful object in the universe.
Blah, blah, blah. Proper name, place name, backstory stuff.
Hello, Harrisites. Welcome to our interview. Today, I'm here with Democratic candidate Grace Meng, who is running for New York District 6. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
That's good. This week's topics are gun control, education, infrastructure, and election integrity. Are you ready to get started?
Yep.
Okay, first question. What specific measures do you support to strengthen background checks for gun purchases, and how do you plan to ensure these measures are effectively enforced?
As of right now, we do have a right-winged House and a right-wing court, while we do have a Democratic president. So a lot of the bills and policies I support cannot be passed because there's a lot of tension on bipartisan bills. So the SCOTUS right now recently struck down the bill that I proposed to for carrying concealed weapons. So people are allowed to carry concealed weapons without stating the reason as to why. And this further harms public safety. So I deeply condemn the SCOTUS for what they have done. I want to make sure that we have more regulation to guns. And I believe that we shouldn't have extreme weapons such as AR-15s in the house. It should only belong to the military. And it shouldn't be in the weapons. I do believe that people should be able to protect themselves, but these type of weapons should not be in the homes. And I'm big on gun regulation, especially with the rise of school shootings. I want to make sure that children and our community does feel safe.
Thank you. Let's move on to education. Do you believe that standardized testing is an effective way to measure student achievement? If not, what other alternative methods would you propose to assess student progress?
I do not believe that standardized testing is an effective way of assessing the students' abilities due to marginalized communities getting less funding for education. I believe that we need to look for better ways of assessing a student's capabilities. So that's why I want to make sure that we fund extracurriculars. I want to make sure that we're funding and putting money into schools, especially ones in marginalized communities, so that we can, so that they can have the abilities and get into the best possible situations, or learn what they want to do to the best of their capabilities. Yeah.
Thank you. What actions would you take to make higher education more affordable for students? And do you support measures such as tuition-free community college or student loan forgiveness?
It's a great question. I currently am fighting, and I have fought for student loan forgiveness. I'm a big believer in student loan debt forgiveness. So I believe that people who are going into adulthood right now shouldn't be taxed or burdened with many loans. I believe that they should have the ability to enter adulthood and learn, and as they're growing, they should be able to get the education that they need to go further into their success. I also believe that we should be funding education as they're the future generations. We need to make sure that there's funding in schools, and we need to give opportunities, especially those with low income or below their means of living, so that they do have the opportunities as everyone else.
Thank you. Let's move on to infrastructure. There's a growing infrastructure problem in New York. So what is your plan for upgrading aging infrastructure in your community?
I believe that we should definitely put funding into those, as many people who live below the means, as I said before, transportation and public transportation might be their only means of getting to where they need to go, especially to work or to pick up their children and things like that. So right now the MTA has a bunch of aging fleets and things like that. So I want to make sure that we definitely do put some funds into public transportation to make sure that they have accurate timing and they have enough, especially with the overcrowding on buses. I want to make sure that kids get to school on time, because there is a serious problem with the MTA on that. I want to make sure that that students have the ability to take the bus in a timely manner. So yeah.
Thank you. Finally, your final question is on election integrity. How do you propose to address allegations of fraud in elections?
I do believe that we should make sure that, especially with elections, that it's a fair. I do condemn the recent indictment of Eric Adams due to bribery and things like that. So I want to make sure that we have a fair election system. I want to make sure, because America is a democracy, I want to make sure that, especially on a federal level, that people have access to polling sites. People can go and make sure to make their voice heard. Especially if you're a citizen, you have the right to vote. You should have the right to vote for whoever you want. And many politicians should not be taking bribes. They should be able to campaign and get their proper votes as necessary, and that people should not be meddling into elections, especially with public safety. I want to make sure that the people's voice is heard, but I also want to make sure that the election system is also safe as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have any last words for your voters?
Don't let your voice hang and vote for Grace Meng. I don't support national defense spending as my opponent Thomas Mitch. I want to make sure that it's put into Queens families and Queens communities. So on election day, vote for me, Grace Meng.
Bye.
Hello and welcome back. Today we are joined by Oregon candidate for Congress, Lori Chavez-DeRemer. Welcome.
Hi guys. Thank you for joining us today. So, shall we begin this interview? I'd love to.
Sounds great. So now with our first question, how do you interpret the Second Amendment in today's context, and what limitations, if any, do you believe are consistent with constitutional rights?
I interpret the Second Amendment. I believe that it means that we have the right to bear arms, but I do believe there are limitations when it comes to this, such as I believe you should go through a background check, I believe you should take a gun safety course, and you should have no criminal record.
Now we can move on to our second question. What is your plan for upgrading aging infrastructure in your community?
I want to redirect some funds that we have, taxpayers' money, towards infrastructure to help build our roadways and our highways.
On that topic, how do you plan to improve access to public transportation in underserved areas?
I'd like to improve public transportation by, again, redirecting some of the infrastructure funding towards public transportation to make it accessible for all.
So, what steps will you take to combat misinformation about the electoral process?
Well, I believe that the media and fake news has a lot to do with misinformation when it comes to the electoral process. I signed many bills to prevent AI from making false advertisements and such things. And I believe that it's people's best interest to do their research on what they want to learn about.
And now with our final question, what is your plan to address disparities in education funding between wealthy and low-income school districts, and how would you ensure equal opportunities for all students?
Well, firstly, I'd like to do funding by the district. Each school should have the same amount of funding. I don't believe in wealthy have more and low income have less. I believe it should be all equal opportunities for everyone.
Are there any specific initiatives that you would take to ensure that?
I would sign bills that support that, and I would make sure that all schools have everything that they need to be successful.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Welcome to our Pillow Fight Challenge. Today we have both presidential candidates, Kamala Harris
Hello, Harrisites.
and Donald Trump.
Hello, everybody.
How are you both doing today?
I'm doing great. What about you?
Every day is a beautiful day in the United States of America. I cannot complain about anything.
Okay, thank you. The way this challenge is going to work is simple. Both of you will have 30 seconds to answer questions on week 5 topics. To answer questions, after I say the question, you both have to reach for that beverage. Yeah, the can.
Okay.
Looks delicious.
Yum.
While one of you is answering the question, if the other candidate hears any breaks in your sentence, like or long pauses, or you go over the time limit, they are obligated to hit you with this pillow.
I hope it's clean.
Okay, so I'll say the first question, and then you both will have to reach for the can. Okay. Our first topic will be infrastructure. In 2021, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave the United States a C- rating on its quadrennial infrastructure report card. They say that many infrastructure systems are susceptible to catastrophic failure and that infrastructure has been severely underfunded. How do you intend to modernize this country's deteriorating infrastructure?
Oh, wow.
So you will have 30 seconds to answer. Give me
Wait. Okay.
30 seconds to answer, starting now.
I would be bringing back my policies to how they originally were from 2016 to 2020. Because as you said 2021. Who was the president in 2021? Sleepy Joe Biden, and he ruined the infrastructure. And Kamala Harris would also ruin the infrastructure if she is elected.
He didn't answer the question.
That's not my.
He did not answer the question.
If that's all, then it's your turn. How do you intend to modernize this country's deteriorating infrastructure now?
I plan on investing money and funding into infrastructure because it will create more jobs and opportunities, especially for veterans and people in low and middle class
Go on, Kamala.
You have 50 seconds.
Wait, because in my opportunity economy for all, I plan on investing more money into building our infrastructure back up because it will create more jobs for lower and middle class neighborhoods.
Go on. Okay.
It's a mental game, Kumababa. You have to realize.
What I want to talk about is education. The policies and laws either of you put in place will directly affect our underclassmen. What are your plans to adjust the disparities in education funding between wealthy and low-income areas?
Oh my god!
You have to be quicker than that.
Oh my god.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
I think my concepts of a plan when it comes to bringing back there's nothing to laugh about. I did not say anything. My plan is to essentially have it where
Go! Give 10 seconds.
we basically what we need to do, we need to get Sleepy Joe Biden out of office. We need to put me. I have concepts of a plan that will change America and will change the education system forever.
He did not answer the question. Again, second time.
Okay.
Oh, it smells nice. It does smell
Okay. Pass him the filler, please. Thank you. What are your plans to adjust the disparities in education funding between wealthy and low-income areas?
That's a very great question. Throughout my policies and my presidential campaign, I put a lot of effort in making sure that we have equity for lower and middle class communities. This also means that I want to increase education access for marginalized communities. I also support affirmative action because it let a lot of underrepresented students able to have access to higher education. And I support it because, yes, I answered. I answered!
You went over to time. Okay. Next question will be on gun policy. Americans love their guns. So I want to know, how do you interpret the Second Amendment in today's context, and what limitations, if any, do you believe are consistent with constitutional rights? The question again.
How do I interpret?
Yes, how do you interpret the Second Amendment in today's context, and what limitations, if any, do you believe are consistent with constitutional rights?
I support the Second Amendment because I personally do own a weapon to protect myself. I own a Glock. However, I only use it when I need safety, and I only practice it in a gun range, which means that there should be no reason that people or ordinary citizens will have access to guns, especially like AR-15s and machinery weapons, because there's no need for it. There's no element of safety that you will be granted from owning it. However, I believe that we should invest in better gun control policies.
Oh my god! Alright. Here you go. I'll ask it again, Donald Trump. How do you interpret the Second Amendment in today's context? And what limitations, if any, do you believe are consistent with constitutional rights?
I believe that one thing that Kamala Harris got wrong when she was talking about her policies, she does own a Glock, and I do respect that because protecting yourself is very vital. You really need to protect yourself. But I think there's a lot of American citizens that live in a lot of rough areas that also need to protect themselves from gangs or maybe other dangerous people in their area. So I feel like everyone should have the rights to bear arms, but they need a background check first to make sure they're not crazy.
Alright. Well, he's done now. So we'll move on. Thank you, Philip. The next topic is about Supreme Court appointments. There are already 9 Supreme Court justices in the Supreme Court. If you are elected, will you be appointing any new Supreme Court justices? And are there any policies you have to regulate Supreme Court justices from being corrupt? Okay, here you go. I'll start right now.
Okay. So as we already know, Donald Trump personally handpicked each of the Supreme Court justices that were responsible for overturning Roe versus Wade, which means that because of his actions, and he also gloated about this in a lot of his rallies, he is proud in the fact that he appointed people that will take away the bodily autonomy of women. I believe that we should definitely regulate who is being on the Supreme Court because a lot of the times they're sitting in that position for a long time. Wait, let me finish.
Continue.
Okay, and
You're going over time.
And then, yes, I agree, and I believe that we should definitely regulate like who is being on these positions because a lot of the times they're not in touch with a lot of the current day issues, and we need to make sure that the Supreme Court represents who is in America.
Okay, here you go. Your turn, Donald Trump. Do you need me to repeat the question or you have?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you are elected, will you be appointing any new Supreme Court justices? And are there any policies you have to regulate Supreme Court justices from being corrupt?
No.
That's all you have to say?
No, I would not like to appoint any new Supreme justices. All I want to do is bring it back to where I was in the glorious 2016 to 2028. Because that's when we know America was peaked during those times, so we need to bring it back to that time.
Okay.
Did not answer the question.
I actually answered the question.
You said
Give me the pillow.
Okay, you can have it.
Okay. If elected, what policies will you put in place to legitimize our elections and protect voter rights?
To legitimize our elections, I think we should we should strongly code. We should do more coding when it comes to protecting our elections, because as we know, the Russians like to hack our elections and they like to rig it against me. They like to rig it towards the liberals and not towards the Republicans. So I really think that up in our cybersecurity, when it comes to the election, is going to be one thing that will drastically change the direction of the election.
Okay, Kamala Harris.
Yes.
If elected, what policies will you put in place to legitimize our elections and protect voter rights?
I believe that our elections are already legitimate. However, there's many claims from my opponent Donald Trump, which is completely untrue. And this is why we had the act of domestic terrorism on January 6th, because he constantly says that our elections are rigged. Again, not true at all. It's just because Americans are more in tune and listen to our policies from the Biden-Harris administration. To protect voter rights, I plan to uphold John.
Continue! Your time is up, Kamala Harris. Your time is up, Kamala Harris. Do you need help, Mr. Trump?
The liberals took off my hair, guys. The liberals took off my hair. Oh my God, I cannot believe it. I can't even see my face.
He's bald! He's bald and he's torturing people with hair!
Okay, thank you both for these wonderful answers. You will both have 30 seconds to give your final remarks to the voters.
Can I have the drink?
No, you, who wants to start?
Wait, I didn't finish my answer!
Well, you went over time, Miss Harris. Donald Trump, you're gonna start. Give your final remarks to the voters who are voting for you this November.
I'm going to keep it very straight with you guys. As we can see from this interview, Kamala Harris cannot take anything seriously. She's constantly laughing. There is nothing to laugh about. These are real world. She's laughing right now. There is real world issues at stake here, and we need to get the liberals out of here, and we need a real man to run this country. Make America great again. Have no fear. Trump is still here.
Well, instead of a real man, maybe it's time for a woman to take the position and see the changes in the flourishing that would happen to America. Vote Harris for Harrisites, because I generally listen to the conservative Americans, and I don't say questionable remarks such as, I want my general officials to be like Hitler. That's extremely out of pocket, and I feel like, again, you should vote morally and politically, and vote Harris for Harrisites. Thank you.
Thank you both. This concludes our Pillow Fight Challenge. Don't forget to vote on Election Day, because your vote matters.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey TNN, here are your producers on the way to PSIS 499 for the vice presidential and presidential mock debate.
We're very excited to be moderating this debate. We'll be showing you some clips throughout the debate, and we'll be interviewing middle schoolers at the end.
We are T-minus 12 minutes of the debate. As you can see, we're setting up. All the candidates are here, except for Donald Trump, but hopefully he's coming soon.
You have 40 seconds left of your opening statement. You may begin.
If I'm a little sick today, blame the liberals, blame everyone except for me, guys. Because everyone knows I'm the greatest president who have ever lived. I cannot wait to share my policies with you beautiful people today.
You now have a 1-minute opening statement.
My pronouns are USA.
Our first topic will be climate change. What responsibility would the Trump administration have to reduce the impact of climate change here for you?
Everybody knows I do not need to reduce climate change because it does not exist, guys. You cannot fix something that does not exist, guys. Just a general rule of thumb, don't listen to the liberals because they're trying to fix something that don't exist. Kamala Harris, all she's doing is giving more and more money to these countries in the Middle East so they can get more guns, more tanks, more missiles, and then harm the people around them, guys. Kamala Harris is a stupid toilet, guys.
Donald Trump does not exude alpha energy. That does not exude teamwork or showing that he's a good leader for our country. Instead, he's going to isolate America and let us become a target for any other country to attack us. We need national security. We don't need someone who's going to constantly befriend someone if they show them a good check. Thank you so much.
in order for them to pass. As we all know, all we're going to do with these foreign policy moves is cause more violence around the world. We do not need violence around the world, guys. We need peace and love, everybody. Peace and love.
We'll now move on to the topic of healthcare. Donald Trump. You pledged to protect Medicare from cuts, but your administration took steps that could allow states to cut Medicaid. Would cuts to Medicaid also be off the table?
Guys, I think that people being healthy in this country is very important because as we all know, when Sleepy Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were president and vice president, all they did was make COVID worse, guys. They did not know how to deal with any of these things. So I feel like under my administration, I can assure all of you that the healthcare system will be more fair and there will be less problems. Unlike Kamala Harris, who all she does is bring the healthcare system down.
Time's up. Ms. Harris, in reference to your plan to expand Medicaid without receiving additional funding from current or future beneficiaries, how do you necessarily expect to fund this plan? You have 45 seconds.
I understand that funding is an extreme concern, especially when we expand services such as Medicaid. I would expand it to cover in-home services. And by funding this means that I will make sure that the wealthy, and instead of constantly benefiting them like Donald Trump does in the past, I will make sure that if everyone's paying their fair share of taxes, we can allocate these funds to put it towards more health services. I also believe that with the Medicaid drug price, do you see how it's distracting the audience? Very respectful. With the Medicaid drug price program, it will also increase funding and can be another potential funding source because it can save up to $100 billion in the next decade.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Yeah, these are your moderators saying goodbye. The students are leaving now.
It was a great time.
Definitely, as you'll see through footage, was definitely a little bit interesting.
Very interesting.
There were some highs and lows, a lot of second deductions. However, overall, I would give it a good 8.3 out of 10.
I agree. I'd give it an 8.
No 0.3?
No 0.3.
Okay. Goodbye. Here with 3 middle schoolers from PSIS 499, and we're going to ask them what they thought about the debate. So first question, what did you think about the debate?
It was amazing. I think it was pretty accurate for the most part. So
I think it was really fun, and based on the real presidential debate, like what he said, it's really accurate, and yeah, really good.
I felt it was quite interesting, but we missed a few key points. Like, they most of the time just talked about some random stuff. We missed a lot of their key policies.
Yeah. Just to backtrack a little bit, who am I here with today?
I'm Gavin from Class 8-1.
I'm Martine Domingo from Class 8-1.
And I'm Vihan from Class 8-2.
Okay, thank you. So, second question.
Do you guys, based on the debate, is there anyone specific that you're possibly going to vote for tomorrow?
I would say I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. I was originally planning on Trump, but he lost me when he said that climate change is our focus.
I don't really have a view, but to be honest, I would vote for Trump.
I would vote for Kamala because Trump has been disproved too many times. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So how did you guys think about how the debate was run, how everything went? Less about, what the candidates said, but how the overall, what did you think about the overall experience?
I think it was pretty formal. It was well organized. Yeah.
Yeah, it was well organized, but I feel like it got it became chaotic and yeah.
Yeah.
I felt the vice presidential debate was a lot more formal than the presidential one because on the presidential one, people started getting really rowdy.
Yeah.
And last question, is there any main takeaways or anything that you learned from the debate today?
Well, I learned that Trump's stance on abortion is that it should only be provided in very specific cases, while Kamala Harris is that it should be provided overall.
Thank you.
I learned that both presidents want to improve the economy and want to improve the livelihood of Americans. That's my piece of information.
I learned that people eating dogs and cats isn't true.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Would you guys do this at your school, at your high school, if you had the chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Fun. Thank you.
Well, looks like our time has come to an end.
That's so morbid. Why'd you say it like that?
What he means to say is that this is our final episode for you guys.
We had a lot of fun making this show for all of you.
Yeah, we hope we kept you informed this election season so you know who you're voting for.
And remember, today's the last day that you can register to vote. So make sure you end up doing that.
Speaking of today, as you all may know, the show is filmed in advance, so unfortunately you won't be able to see our costumes, but we just wanted to wish you
Happy Halloween!
Make sure you guys are safe today and have fun.
And thanks again for tuning in to our final episode.
Now, for the last time, I'm Ramon.
I'm Anastasia.
I'm Harlow.
And I'm Daniel.
Bye! It's election day. Who is gonna win? We're gonna solve that mystery. You see you parasites, keep voting for your rights. It's election day. What's up, TNN? Yeah, we're back again. We're gonna solve the mystery of who is gonna win. Let us now begin. It's election